Today I am food prepping and I am just working to make sure that I make my week as easy as possible. And this time I'm just changing things up. I am going in with some main dishes. I feel like mains are just nice because you can always come up with a side, some potatoes, some rice, a salad, some roasted veggies, whatever. But sometimes it's the mains that really get me. So today I am going in with a few of them to make my life easy and hopefully yours too. So let's get into it, shall we? Since I'm going in with a few different dishes today, I thought I would save myself a lot of time and get the prep work done in advance. So by that, I mean just cutting up my onions, my carrots, my celery, anything else that I need, the garlic, like get that minced up just in advance so that all I have to do is grab one plate full of ingredients for each separate dish and I am good to go. I don't have to stand there and chop everything individually, save myself some time. I don't know if you're like me, but I love to watch people prep and cut up their onions and all the things, but if you're like me, comment down below and let me know. I will make sure I include it moving forward. But since we're cooking so much stuff today, I thought I would save both of us some time. So I am starting with some chicken soup. I know you've seen me make this before, but I don't know, lately I am just like vibing some chicken soup. So today I'm starting with one whole chicken that I just cut up. So I have the thighs, the legs, the breast, all the things. And to that I am adding some carrots, celery, ginger, onions, garlic, thyme, green onions, cilantro, a bay leaf, and some filtered water. I am going to do this in 2 phases. Part 1 of my chicken soup is making sure that I make a stock. I want a super flavor packed stock. And so that's why I'm using all of these things and slow cooking it. This is going to cook for 1.5 to 2 hours and then we're going to move on. While our chicken stock is going, I am moving on to our next dish, which is our beef bourguignon. This is such a luxurious meal, but also super easy to make. So I have in my Dutch oven about a tablespoon of olive oil. My Dutch oven is set to about 5 out of 10, which is a medium for me. Remember, this is cast iron and it is enameled, so this holds a lot of heat. Any higher and food has a tendency to burn. So that out of the way, I have about 2 pounds of organic grass-fed chuck roast, and to that I just added a lot of salt and pepper. I let it hang out on the counter on a plate for about 30 or so minutes just so it could come to room temperature and the salt and pepper could really penetrate that meat and make it delicious. I am searing that on both sides for about 5 to 6 minutes until it's nice and crispy or golden on both sides. I'm going to take that out and then I'm moving in with my next part. So I am browning and cooking up my onions and my carrots. The onions are going to cook all the way through and they're going to get kind of caramelized with the sugar from the carrots. It is going to be delicious. The carrots are going to finish cooking when this goes into the oven, so fear not. Once all of that is good, I'm adding in my minced garlic and then I'm throwing in some gluten-free flour. I'm going to stir that up and let it cook for about a minute and then I'm going in with some tomato paste. This is going to give it so much depth of flavor and just deliciousness. I tell you, deliciousness. So again, I'm going to stir this up and let it cook for about a minute and then I'm going in with my red wine, and today I'm using an organic, like free of everything Merlot, and I am not a wine drinker. I don't know if this is like the good stuff. I've heard it is, so fingers crossed. So to my Dutch oven, I added my herbs that I got right from my garden. If you have been following the channel, you know I tried my hand at gardening this year. Things did not go the way I hoped they would, but I do have some banging herbs. So my herbs went in, I put my roast back into the Dutch oven, and you saw I splattered wine everywhere, but casualties of cooking. I put the lid on this, it goes in the oven, and it's gonna cook at 300 degrees for about 4 hours. I also have a cookie sheet with 4 sweet potatoes that I put into the oven as well. Those guys are gonna cook for the same amount of time, and when they are done, I'm just so excited to show you. I can't wait. So moving on, we are going to make some ground chicken, or where you're from, they might call this minced chicken. I don't know. I would really love to adopt calling it mince because I think it is so fabulous. But anyway, I digress. So I started off by cooking up my onion. So I have 1 onion that I just chopped finely. And once that was cooked, I threw in my garlic, my minced garlic. That cooked as well. And then I threw in 2 pounds of my ground chicken. To flavor this up, I am throwing in some pink salt, garlic powder, chili powder, onion powder, some fresh ground black pepper, and I'm going to stir this up and let it cook. Then once it's pretty much cooked, I am throwing in 1 entire jar of Siete red enchilada sauce. Siete, listen, if I could be a brand ambassador for Siete, I would do it in a second. I love Siete's products, but that's for another video. So typically when I make any kind of ground meat, I do add like a stock or a broth or water or something, and I let it kind of stew for about 20 minutes at the end. So with the enchilada sauce, it's the same concept. I'm gonna let this cook until the liquid has cooked it down, and it makes the mince, oh, there you go, I just said it. It makes the ground chicken really, really tender and delicious. While that's cooking, I am moving on to some chicken breast. So I really contemplated taking this recipe out of the video because it's not a complete win in my book, but you know I like to be totally upfront and transparent. So I wanted to show you that even though I had an idea in my mind, it didn't completely come out the way that I hoped it would, but it was still delicious. So my chicken breast is like, these are thin fillets, and this just has some pink salt, some pepper, garlic powder, and some red pepper flakes. To that, I added some olive oil, and then I threw on some almond flour, and I really tried to create a coating, if you will, and then I put it in the air fryer. So this is gonna end up cooking for, it's about a total of 12 to 13 minutes, depending on the thickness of these chicken thighs. And halfway through, I flip them so it can get brown on both sides. But you will see what I mean in a few minutes when I tell you, it wasn't exactly a win, but So moving on, our mince or our ground chicken is done. A lot of that red enchilada sauce has absorbed, or it's, evaporated. And now we're left with a nice, like thick, reduced sauce and very tender ground chicken. So our sopita, our soup, phase 1 done. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pull out all of the chicken from here, and then I'm gonna strain my stock. I wanna get all of the veggies, all the pieces of everything out, and then we're going to move on to phase 2. So for phase 2, I have a completely clean chicken stock. Now I'm gonna add in some fresh carrots, celery, garlic, some potatoes. Once I take my chicken off the bones, I'm gonna leave the chicken pieces pretty large because I like them to be chunky. And the reason why is as I reheat things or I'm stirring the soup around or whatever, some of those chicken pieces will break down. And I would rather that than have like a bunch of teeny tiny stringy pieces of chicken just to start with, if you know what I mean. I hope that makes sense, but in any event. So I'm putting this all together. I'm going to give it a really good stir. I'm also going to add some ground turmeric powder here because typically I cook this with turmeric root, but I didn't have any. So, you got to do what you got to do, be flexible, be ready to pivot. It is what it is. Then before I let this cook for a second time, I'm gonna add more filtered water. So I know that as this cooks, some of that stock is gonna cook down, and I wanna make sure that I'm left with plenty of broth when all is said and done. I love the broth. I also love to cook this or reheat it later with some noodles, and or you can add rice or whatever. You don't even have to add anything, but I love the brothiness. I love for noodles or rice or potatoes or whatever to really cook in that broth and absorb that beautiful flavor. And I can't even tell you, I can't. So this is gonna cook for another like 30 to 45 minutes. I wanna make sure the carrots, the celery, like all the veggies and stuff are nice and tender, and that this has really just, taken on all these, I don't even know how to word it. I really don't. It just has become pure magic, pure magic. So this is our beautiful ground chicken, all done, ready to go. This is our chicken breast that I was talking about. So as you can see, it is golden in parts, not completely golden everywhere. It wasn't exactly like crispy all over. So I have some playing around to do with the air fryer version of this. It didn't quite work out the way I had hoped, but I'm gonna tell you, the flavor was 10 out of 10. So delicious, so incredibly delicious. So moving back to our soup, this is the finished product. This chicken stock is so beautiful and golden and velvety and just magnificent. I'm gonna store this in 32-ounce mason jars. These are the wide mouth jars, and this just makes it really easy to grab a jar out of the fridge or the freezer, throw it into a pot with a little extra water, reheat it, and you are good to go. Each one of these 32-ounce jars, if you fill it to the top, I would say it's probably 2 servings, and it is just delicious. I cannot tell you how happy I am to have this soup. This is the second batch I've made in about a week, and listen, I am just on a chicken soup kick right now. I don't even know what's happening. So our final piece is done, and that is our beef bourguignon. Look at how beautiful and velvety she looks. And then our sweet potatoes. That beautiful sugar from the slow cooking process has just like oozed out. Oh, so beautiful, so beautiful. So moving back to our beef bourguignon, I'm just fishing out the bay leaf and the herbs. I'm gonna skim off some of the oil that's sitting on the top, and I'm going to shred this up. And again, just like the chicken, I don't want teeny tiny pieces. I just want like large pieces that are manageable if you're putting it onto a fork or a spoon or whatever. This is going to pair so beautifully with our sweet potatoes or regular potatoes or rice or whatever. I am so happy. These dishes are 10 out of 10, every single one of them, delicious. I really hope that you enjoyed hanging out with me because I enjoyed hanging out with you. If you liked this video, and I really hope that you did, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up, you subscribe, and you click that notification bell because all of that really supports my channel and it means the world to me. I will see you next time.